What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast. That's right, the only sports podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there. In celebration of Barbenheimer weekend, the biggest pop culture weekend maybe ever, Casino decided to dress up as. Are you dressing up as Oppenheimer or Barbie?
I'm dressing up as my 2-year-old goes, "Daddy, wear unicorn," and I put it on. That's what I'm wearing. I'm wearing Michaela. I'm wearing the look of Michaela, or however those red carpet people say it.
So I'm gonna say Oppenheimer because I've never seen Barbie wear that, but Oppenheimer, there was pictures. Are you seeing any of those movies in theaters, Casino?
You know what? I might see the Barbie one. That's intrigued me quite a bit. After watching the trailers, I kind of it's made me giggle. It's made me giggle. I don't want to see it because it's Barbie, whatever. I really like Ryan Gosling like tremendously. I mean, and Margot Robbie, she's a great actress, really is. I mean, really good. But Ryan Gosling is just phenomenal. He's up there. He would probably be my number 2 behind Ryan Reynolds, but
I think Gosling has surpassed Reynolds for me, just as hunky actors I like. But have you seen The Nice Guys?
Oh yeah, we've talked about this. That's so underrated. That's such a good movie.
Yeah, it's
and apparently I laugh so hard. No matter how many times I've watched it, probably 20 times. Every time I watch the part where it's in the kitchen with Ryan Gosling and then something happens and he screams, like that makes me giggle like a 2-year-old every single time.
It's a perfect movie. The Nice Guys, perfect movie. That's movie recommendation because sorry to say this, but this is the podcast that always promises things and that never delivers them.
Correct.
Our wives, I feel sorry for them, but we didn't have time to watch the quarterback documentary, and then we didn't do the top 5 list, and we're short on time today, so it was just sorry
about that. We're short on time today because when my kid wakes up, even though my wife's home, it's day 2 of potty training. So
yeah. Mine is also going through potty training, but he is with his mom right now, so this is awesome. But Casino, we're still in the dog days of summer, kind of smack dab in the middle of it. Yesterday on ESPN, they were playing like stock car racing at 5 p.m.
ESPN News and ESPNU has been nothing but the Ocho reruns from last year. It's been great because the Ocho doesn't happen until August typically, but it's been all the reruns of the previous years, and I mean it's been delightful. I watched corgi racing last night. It was really actually I really enjoyed that.
I still don't know what they keep replaying that one sport where it's the 2 cars on like a wood table and they like pull them back and then they have to stop at a certain spot. I don't understand what the fuck it is. Well, especially because I'm watching it at work when it's on.
Well, it's like
there's no sound.
It's like tractor pulling.
But it's like little miniature cars or whatever. I don't understand it. I don't know what to Google.
You know what's crazy is there's a life-size version of that with trolley trains in like Sweden. Like there's like trolley train like Olympics or like festival day, and like they have like a stopping one. They have like how fast can you get out and like put signs up and do this and that, and like it's a whole sport, something like that. It's crazy.
See, that
I saw that on the Ojo. It was pretty neat.
But I'll tell you what, today we're mostly talking about NFL.
Absolutely nothing. Oh wait.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's really the only thing going on. We'll talk about Wimbledon a little bit, and then I will say in regards to the NFL, let me actually adjust my camera right here. I did watch the NFL Network is doing their top 10 games of 2023 countdown. So I watched all of Bengals Chiefs yesterday, like not the playoff one, the regular season one. I'll tell you what, before I know we're talking about NFL in about like a week or two, we're going to start getting into like our NFL previews per
Oh
division.
yeah,
I think the Bengals might be my pick out of the AFC. I
dude, they're
think,
so good, and they're scary good. They're scary good. We've talked about this. Best receiving core, hands down, in
yeah.
football.
And Joe Burrow is, I think, arguably top 3 quarterback in the league right now.
Oh,
I
there's
think you can make a
no
case
doubt.
for number 2. Yeah.
No doubt. No, I mean, I don't know. I would say he's at 3. I think you got Hurts, Mahomes, and then Burrow. Just because I really like what those two can do also on the ground. Burrow is more just a perfect pocket quarterback that's just outrageously good.
Did you see that list that was going around? It was from, I believe, let me pull it up right now. It was from the top executives, coaches, scouts, and players around the NFL who ranked their top 10 quarterbacks.
I did see it. I don't remember what it was in depth on who was who. If you could give us a breakdown, I would love that.
Yeah. So I have it right here. Number 1, obviously Patrick Mahomes. I don't think there's a debate. Number 2, like we just talked about, Joe Burrow is number 2. I also think you could potentially debate that, but I think right now I don't see an issue with that, right? Number 3, 4, and 5, however, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert.
No,
Do those 3?
the fact that your quarterback is not in
He's
the top.
6.
I don't care. He's not in the top 5 is absolutely outrageous. Outrageous. Herbert's been too injured to show really show anything. He's good. He's a good quarterback, but I'm not going to put him above Jalen Hurts by any mean. And Aaron Rodgers, I don't get it. I don't get it. I really
Well,
don't.
also when you hear everything coming out of like Jets camp from like football reporters and stuff like that, everybody always says the same like kind of thing about Aaron Rodgers, where it's like he looks good, but you can tell there's like he's fallen off a little, because why wouldn't he? He's been in the league forever. But it's also like, when is this Aaron Rodgers love and infatuation just gonna like stop?
When he
Like,
retires, actually, no, it will never. It'll be when he's dead, pretty much.
yeah, because we talked about this on last week's episode, has not sniffed the playoffs since 2010. That was going into the season. That's
That's
going to be
outrageous.
14 seasons ago that he even got close. Like,
That's
again,
outrageous.
he's been in NFC championship games, but he's sucked at them. So remember there was that one against the 49ers where they just completely wiped the floor with them. Like,
Oh yeah,
and then in the past couple seasons, last year, he had 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and then he had the 2 back-to-back MVP seasons where he went 48-5 and then 37-4. Both those seasons, though, in Green Bay, didn't, again, when the playoffs come, he's a different quarterback.
right.
He's basically more
And you
accurate,
continue.
less risk taking Peyton Manning.
Right.
Is that fair to say?
No, that's fair to say. And you know what? And that's why is Jalen Hurts? It's not me trying to stroke your ego, but why is Jalen Hurts behind even like Josh Allen? Because Josh Allen, like, he's done pretty well in the playoffs, like as an individual, but not enough to get his team through. And Jalen Hurts has done that on his own back before. So I don't understand how either one of these two quarterbacks are above him or Herbert. It does not make sense to me, because I can argue even Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow right now. I love Burrow. He's amazing. I loved what he did at LSU. We've talked about this last season, how much we love the guy. And that's where I would say there would be a good debate, would be Burrow 2 or Hurts 2. And then you have everybody else. I can't believe Jalen's 6 behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. It just
I,
doesn't make sense to me. Just going off of what they have done in the playoffs, what they have done individually for that team, and they've shown that they can or can't put team games on their shoulders. Like Aaron Rodgers can't do that. Aaron Rodgers has never been able to go, all right, this is me. This is my game time. No, he
yeah,
hasn't done that. He needs help.
no, I agree. I think you and I are. I would honestly say we're Aaron Rodgers haters because
Kindred
I
spirit.
don't like
Oh
him.
yeah.
I
Oh
don't
yeah.
like him at all. Like I've never liked him. But I also think that we're kind of realist when it comes to who he is and kind of always has been. He's a quarterback who puts up great stats and he's done the Hail Mary thing at the end of games like twice or three times or whatever. And people act like he's this ungodly quarterback, but it's like I just want a quarterback who puts those up and then goes into the playoffs and gets better. Like it just seems like that's what you would want as a fan of your team. And that's why I think at the moment, because again, this is at the moment, this isn't,
Yeah,
cumulative career or
it's
whatever.
outrageous.
I would put Mahomes first. I think I would put Joe Burrow second, just because we've seen it for a longer period of time. But I think Hurts is third. I agree with
Easily.
you. I
Hands
think he
down.
goes above Josh Allen, who last year kind of had a rough year. Like he regressed. And then I keep seeing all these things online about where it's just like, oh, Hurts is going to like regress this year and all this kind of stuff. What evidence is there to that? The longer the
None.
season went on last year, the better he got. Why would more time to get healthier and work on your craft, especially that guy who you hear all of his teammates and everybody who's ever coached him or whatever be like, you guys do not understand. This guy's a fucking psycho. Like all he does is work on being a better quarterback. Like,
And that's and in the last person that I saw that is that dedicated was Tom Brady, in my opinion. Was just like literally one of my favorite quotes, and I think I've talked about this before, uh was Ray Lewis. When he was playing against Brady and whatnot, he was like, I forget which TV show he was on, but he was like, what made me great is because Brady made me great. Where he's like, I'm sitting there, Brady's in that room clicking, watching every single play. So I had to do the same, and I feel like Jalen Hurts has that same mentality. It's like I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to live in this film room. I'm going to be at the practice, first one there, last one to leave, every single day. That's what he embodies to me, and it shows on the field. You can see it in his demeanor, how he walks up and down the field, on the sideline talking to his team, how he's so calm out at the line of scrimmage. Is because he knows what's coming. He's studied. He's a football player who knows the game, and I love that.
yeah. And I don't think either of us think he's going to be Tom Brady, but he can at
No,
least
but
be.
like that,
Yeah, I
I'm
get
using
like
that
that
I'm using
mentality.
that comparison of that mentality where, and I think I've used before, like in NBA, Kawhi Leonard. Like I love how he's just there to play ball. He's not there to do the whole
Well, when he
showboating.
actually
Like he
plays. Yeah.
Yes, when he actually plays, but he's just out there and he's offense, defense, and he just plays the game.
Yeah.
He enjoys playing the game. So, yeah. So you use whatever comparison you want, but Jalen Hurts being 6 is outrageous.
Yeah. And I think we both I think we're both in agreement that I don't see how Hurts as a passer gets worse instead of getting better for next year. Like the leaps and bounds he's made every year, I don't see how you think, like, just as someone who watches football, that suddenly he's just going to hit a wall and just be like, oh, he's no longer good. And it's like, what have you seen him do or say or heard about him that makes you think he's going to regress? Like, I
Nothing.
think we're
Last the last
potentially
power
hitting his peak.
Right, the last power rankings I saw actually has the Eagles over the Chiefs.
Oh, well, I don't, well, I mean, it's the Chiefs world right now and everybody's just living in it. But uh for these ranks, Casino, I think we would both agree right now we'll put Mahomes first, Burrow second, Hurts third, and then who would you put fourth between Allen, Rodgers, and Herbert?
Allen.
I think Allen as well. And then For fifth, I think we would both put Herbert, right? We would
Yeah,
both put Herbert.
yeah.
Now, here's where it gets interesting 6 through 10. So, what they had as 6 through 10 was Hurts 6, Lamar 7th, Trevor Lawrence 8, Dak 10, and Matthew Stafford, or Dak 9, and Matthew Stafford 10.
I can't
I
believe
don't think
Dak's. I can't believe Dak's in the top 10.
I think I think that's funny as well. Just because again, I feel like when we talk about quarterbacks, everybody always makes a point to be like it's the most important position on the field. You don't get to Super Bowls without your quarterback playing A plus or the rare instances where they're carried by like a legendary defense or something
Right.
like that, right? So of these, what is it? 5 quarterbacks or whatever. I just saw this thing. I don't know if it was real or not. So I don't want to say he actually said this, but it was a Dak Prescott quote talking about how I think it was about these rankings, talking about how he thinks he's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts because he's never beat, or Jalen Hurts have never beat him. The Eagles have never beat Dak Prescott and all this kind of stuff. But it was just like, but also since you've been in the league, since you've been the quarterback of the Cowboys, the Eagles have been to 2 Super Bowls,
Right.
and Jalen Hurts just had an MVP season. I think the last time Dak Prescott was in the talk for an MVP season was his rookie year or his
Maybe.
second year. Like,
Maybe.
I just think, and then we saw our memories of him in the playoffs are running up the middle with 5 seconds left with no time on the clock, and then kind of trying to spike it and them just being out of time. And it's like, it just reminds me of when you think of like Tony Romo, everybody's like, great quarterback, but your playoff memories is the fumbled snap on the kickoff and him trying to run it in. And then it's just like, there's nothing. Again, regular season stats are great. You can be the greatest regular season quarterback of all time, but you can only be as good as Dan Marino, right? And Dan Marino's legendary and maybe one of the best pure passers of all time, but nobody is ever going to put him in the top 10 of greatest NFL quarterbacks of all time because he never won a Super Bowl. So
That's fair. I agree with that statement.
I don't know. And then Matthew Stafford, I don't know. I really think the Rams are going to be a dumpster fire
Well, we're
this
gonna
year.
have to see what it is like now with his arm, with his shoulder.
Well, then did you also see there was reports coming out from the Rams, and like that when this information gets like leaked, it's somebody in the Rams being like, this is annoying to us and we want to get it out in the public. Apparently people in the Rams organization are frustrated with Matthew Stafford because he didn't want to restructure his contract. And then there were reports, I think we talked about it on last episode
No,
of
I
the
mean he won them a damn Super Bowl. He just
yeah.
got injured.
Well, then remember there were reports that they were trying to trade him or see what market he was. So
Which
I really think
they're not going to because he's coming off an injury. Like, why would you?
yeah. I really think Stafford, this might be the last year he's with the Rams, or maybe he does play out his contract, but to put him in top 10 again right now seems weird. Like,
I agree.
right? Like,
I agree.
who do you
I mean,
think you would replace with him?
I was thinking about that as we've been talking about this. I don't know. There's not a lot of good quarterbacks left in this league,
I
man.
was thinking that too. Everybody always says this is a quarterback league. And when you think of teams that are like drafting new quarterbacks, you're like, I mean, do teams really need quarterbacks? But then when you think
Mm-mm.
top 10, you're kind of like, I don't
Which is
know who
funny,
would be
which is
top
funny
10.
because this is one of the topics we want to talk about is is the running back position kind of gone? I mean, it's kind of turned into a wide receiver league, but you have to have good quarterbacks or
That's a good
decent
point.
quarterbacks, you know. And then if you don't, like for instance, my team, the Patriots, we're going to be a run heavy team, especially with not getting Hopkins and not having the best quarterback. So I feel like a lot of teams need a running game, even though I feel like the running game is kind of dead for most teams.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree. I'll throw out one name I think I would take right now ahead of Stafford just because, again, we just talked about wins, but when it gets to this area, like we were just talking about, I'm more concerned about the injury than if Stafford can win, because obviously we saw him win a Super Bowl.
Right.
But I feel like I would take Cousins right now over
Oh, fair.
Stafford at
Oh, yeah.
10.
But I mean, yeah, Mr. Consistent. Why not?
Yeah. You're at least going to be in the playoff hunt. I mean, and then you can do the
Yeah,
blind.
whether he makes the playoffs or not, he's always in the hunt.
Yeah. And that's what we can also say about Dak Prescott. They're basically the same quarterback.
Yeah,
So at
but
9 or
who would you
10,
take though? Who would you take? I mean, you take Dak being out of Dallas and you put him on a different team. Would you rather Dak or would you rather Cousins?
well, I would feel like I would rather take Cousins because I've seen him do it in two places, right? I've seen him do it with completely
That
different
was gonna be my
weapons.
argument.
Yeah.
That was
That
gonna
are
be my
not
but
a team that's not tailored to him, right?
right, but then you also got to think, has Cousins played though? You know, Cousins hasn't played for Dallas. Hasn't played for America's team, and so that spotlight hasn't been on him. Sorry.
Well, that is true. But then again, when the spotlight is on Prescott, he kind of folds too. Like he's
Unless
as inconsistent as Cousins is.
unless it's against an easy team.
Yeah. Or for some reason, the fucking Eagles, even though uh they have way more that is a crazy, just one of those outlier things where like Dak Prescott always kills the Eagles, but then the Eagles always go to the playoffs and are in contention for the Super Bowl pretty much since he's been in the league. So I mean, I'll take it, but it would be nice to just beat the Cowboys as an Eagles fan. But so the last five right now, we would have Rodgers 6, Lamar Jackson 7, Trevor Lawrence 8, Dak Prescott 9, Kirk Cousins 10. I feel like of that group, I feel like I would move Lawrence and Jackson ahead of Rodgers.
I would.
Right?
I would.
think I just trust them right now more than I do Rodgers.
We've talked on with the Jaguars not being a great team, but they're getting better. But I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he is that team. He has done everything he can to get that team in a better spot. And with not having a lot of players, for him to do that it's quite astounding that he's that good of a quarterback to pull up this team out of complete dumpster. So, my thoughts.
Yeah. And I mean, we will get more into this kind of discussions when we do our NFL previews, not next week, but the week after. But Casino, you alluded to it earlier. Let's move to the hot topic in the NFL right now. We will talk about the Commanders being sold. But first, before we get to the running backs, let's get to the other position you also alluded to, which is wide receiver. And the big story of this past week is DeAndre Hopkins signing with the Tennessee Titans and not your Patriots. Thoughts?
My thoughts are, why the Titans? Like, realistically, I don't know why.
Money.
Yeah, but money, but I don't know. I'm just mad. I guess I'm just mad. I got nothing else, but besides I'm mad.
I think us as fans and people in the media always think that every player wants to go to the opportunity that gives them the best chance of winning. But I really think, and when you look at DeAndre Hopkins and the teams he has gone to when he's been in this position, he always chooses money over, a chance to vie for a Super Bowl. So I just think there's some players in the league that are like, I'd rather get paid than have a chance at winning. And I think that Hopkins is one of them. I don't think that he's done anything in his career to make you think, that he feels the opposite. He went from, he got drafted by the Texans, but then he went to the Cardinals. And when he went to the Cardinals, they were like a kind of bottom tier playoff team, but I don't think anybody really thought they were a threat in the NFC, especially when he obviously could have signed for less money with the Chiefs or the Bills or a team closer like the Ravens and stuff like that. So I think when he signs with the Titans, it's another move to a semi playoff team, kind of like on the fringe of being a wild card, maybe one game out of the playoffs. And I just think, yeah, you sign for 2 years, $26 million when you could have signed for 1 year, 10 million for the Chiefs and like went ring chasing. I don't know. I just think he really comes off as a guy who's like, I want money. And then that's why it was with the Patriots and the Titans, because it was like, which of you can offer me more money? Even though both of them realistically at this point kind of have the same playoff chances,
Sorry.
when obviously there was talk out there where it's like, well, the Chiefs might be interested, the Bills might be interested. Who knows about, some of the NFC teams that were closer, but yeah, I don't know.
Sorry. I wasn't looking at you that whole time. I got a weird Snapchat request to talk. It's called My AI, and I cannot like manage friendship or anything. Like,
oh yeah. This has been a thing in the Snapchat thing for like 3 months now.
okay, well,
Is this just your first update? Yeah, it's just a robot you can talk to.
it's a green dude with pink hair. Okay, so
Yes.
that creeped me out. Sorry. That creeped me the hell out. And I was like, hey, talk to me. I was like, no, I'm good.
But yeah, Hopkins not going to your Patriots casino.
No.
Good.
Well, you know what? My thought again, you kind of were talking and then I wasn't paying attention, but with him not going, Patriots or the Titans, neither one of those teams are going to be fighting for a title. But AFC East right now is stacked. So if you want to show and go up against the best teams right now in the AFC outside of like the Chiefs and the Bengals, you go to the Patriots because you're going to be playing Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, who've got a good young defense, young players, and Aaron Rodgers has kind of stacked his offense a bit. And then you have the Bills, self-explanatory, no run game, but besides that, they're great. And then the Dolphins, as long as Tua stays healthy, they're a good team. You saw what Hill and Tua did last year. Why wouldn't you want to go to the Patriots and show your stuff and actually compete in a really good division? When you're going to be the number one receiver, hands down, and you want structure. Like, he's got a great relationship with Bill Belichick. I really thought that he was going to go there because he wanted a coach that had massive stability and go to an organization that was very clean cut of, this is how we do it. This is what we want. Boom. And nothing against Tennessee because I like Mike Vrabel, but I really just thought I thought New England was the best destination for him.
Yeah, but they didn't offer him enough money. That was basically what it came down to.
Right.
Money. I'm sure if the fucking Chiefs were like 2 years, $30 million, I don't know why the Chiefs would do that, but I'm sure he'd be like, yeah, I'll go to the Chiefs. I really think he was, instead of ring chasing, he's just paper chasing. And
at this point,
and which, I mean, if that's what he wants to do, good. But he also can't be one of those guys like years from now just being like, man, I was never given the chance to go to the Super Bowl. I wish I could. And then it was just like, in the NFL or any sport, you get two choices: money or championships. And those two things
money of fame.
Yeah. And those two things, if they come together perfectly and you're like LeBron, you win championships. If they don't, you got to choose. And we saw what choice he made. But speaking of getting paid, Casino, let's move to the position that gets paid not enough, according to their group now. I don't know. They should call themselves just one name. So when we talk about them,
what boy band name? What the boy band name?
Running Boys.
The Running Boys.
Z.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, the Z is self-explanatory. It has to be in there.
Running guys in, I don't know. We'll workshop it. But so the issue, Casino, apparently was this started and then kind of blew up on social media with Saquon Barkley not getting a new contract with the New York Football Giants, even after they absurdly overpaid for Daniel Jones. So it looks like, by all accounts, both Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs of the Raiders will end up being franchise tag. They'll make a little more than 10 million each per year. But I wanted to run this by you because at the moment right now, the free agent running backs, I'm going to tell you the free agents and their age, because I thought most of these guys were way older than they actually were. Dalvin Cook right now is a free agent. He's 27. Ezekiel Elliott, free agent, 27. Leonard Fournette, free agent, 28.
Yeah,
I
and
swear I thought he was like 40.
and the Patriots are looking into him. They had him in.
I mean,
Ugh.
why not? Why
Because we
not?
already have, because the Patriots already have like 6 running backs.
Kareem Hunt, 27. And then there was, if you remember earlier this, right after the season, there was talks of Eckler from the Chargers and then Derrick Henry of the Titans we were just talking about. Both of them were requesting trades and there were no takers. Henry at the moment is 29. Eckler is 27. And then these must have flew under the radar and then just came out because of all this running back situation. Joe Mixon of the Bengals took a pay cut to avoid going to free agency. And then Jones of the Packers, Aaron Jones of the Packers, also took a pay cut. So basically my question to you, Casino, is what even is the running back market in the NFL right now?
I mean, are you talking like numbers wise or
I'm
just
just
like
talking about
as the position?
As a position.
I mean, I think it's a vital role because I've always talked about how I think you need to be a well balanced team to be successful, and that's like something the Bills have been missing. They haven't had that running back position to open up the field for Josh Allen. So I think it's a very important role. I feel like the market money wise is going to be skewed heavily because of obviously what Zeke got paid back then, and then obviously that was and he needs to come down a little bit. But I'm really worried that people are that organizations are going to want to either overpay for the running back position. I think it's very important because I think you win football games 5 yards at a time. I mean, look at what made, again, I always go to Brady because it's very, it's fresh to my mind. He wasn't the big over the top quarterback. He was the slice and dice, the 5 yards, the dump offs. But you can get that with, a running back that runs right up the gut as well. So if you have a good running back and you're moving the ball 5 yards at a time, you're going to be a successful football team. So I don't know. I think it's important. I don't think that they should get paid like a Zeke contract or, top tier contracts. I think that always hurts teams. But what's your take on it?
So, right now, in terms of position, the running back position is the second lowest paid position in the entire NFL, only above kicker and punter. Okay, which is fucking crazy. It is crazy that there's somebody at my door. I don't know who it is. It is crazy that
It's the boogeyman.
Let's see. But no, it is crazy that I don't know. Somebody putting some dumb shit on my doorknob. But the only position paid more than the running back right now or only paid less than the running back right now is a kicker or punter. How much do you think the average running back right now is paid per year in the entire league? Average.
6.9 million.
1.8 million.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So the franchise tag from 2015, this is from CBS Sports breaking down all the money aspects of this conversation. The franchise tag in 2015, the running back position is the only position in the NFL where the average or where the franchise tag amount went down. Okay. For quarterback, it almost doubled. For linebacker, it went up by 8 million. I don't think there's a position that matters less in current day NFL than linebacker, right? Because all we see is linebackers getting cooked by tight ends, right? The tight end position is the third lowest paid position in the NFL, which I think is fucking nuts. Because they
Well,
seem much more
there's not
valuable to the
really
game.
that many good tight ends anymore. They've kind of gotten outside of teams that utilize it correctly, like San Francisco or KC. There's really
Yeah.
there's not a lot of massively big named um, tight ends anymore.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. But also, the highest paid running back in the league right now is Christian McCaffrey, who makes $16 million a year, which, again, when the franchise tag is 10 million, that's not all these running backs basically have said they wanted is just long-term contracts. So they're not doing 1 year after 1 year with no
But that's a
basically
tough
job security.
right. But that's a tough position to give a long term contract because how many running backs get injured, how quickly.
Yeah. Well, also, somebody made a great point. I think it was somebody on the Dan Patrick show when I was listening to them. I want to say Albert Breer was talking about this like in depth, and he was saying that when teams look at the Super Bowl last year, the Chiefs running game was their starting running back in the Super Bowl was a 6th-round pick. The Eagles starting running back was Miles Sanders, who left for free agency, and then they immediately just got a bunch of other guys that were kind of on his level, and now the Eagles are paying their entire running back room like half as much as Miles Sanders got by himself in free agency. So it's just one of those positions where, as mean as it sounds, because we're actually talking about people, the running back position seems like the most disposable position because it really does feel like you get a great offensive line, and the Eagles, the Cowboys, there's been teams who have been able to perfect this over the years where it's like you get a great offensive line and build up schemes, and then you hand it to anybody and be like, run
Run through this hole.
Yeah. And it's like you can also see Eagles are a perfect example of this, especially last year with how good their rushing attack was.
The three-headed dragon.
Yeah, it was literally just like there's a giant hole in between the right guard and the center. Like, where do you think you should run? It's kind of like that model almost where obviously quarterback, it's all about like scheme and weapons and time. Running backs, it's kind of more about just your offensive lineman. So as a position, I agree with you. It feels like it's a much bigger offensive like
I don't
offensive.
know. I mean, I don't know what I was saying. Half the things that came out of my mouth didn't make sense, and I just talk in circles sometimes.
Yeah, welcome to my life. Welcome to this podcast. This shit should be but yeah, so the running back position and the rushing attack is half of teams' offenses, but I still think, like you said, it's a vital part of today's game. I just don't think you need a star to be doing it. You kind of just need 5 guys that you can plug and play and just be like, get me, like you said, get me 5 yards this play, and then we'll pass for 35. Like,
Yeah.
and then there's obviously
If you have a
outliers.
quarterback.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Oh, well, and that's the thing where let's more focus the circle of this discussion back on Saquon Barkley. He seems like one of the 3 in the league that it's just like, yeah, he should probably be paid more than you would for another running back because I don't trust Daniel Jones at all. And I especially don't trust Daniel Jones at all when he has no running back. Like, do you think that's going to make him better or worse? He already has no weapons to throw to. Now you're taking away his one weapon in the backfield. Like,
I mean, he would have to run more, and that's just going to take a toll on him over time.
yeah. And that's one of the things
I
where
mean,
when
he's
it
a great
comes,
runner because I mean, he outside of the time he tripped up on himself when he had a free touchdown, but I mean, he's a big guy.
we were
He's
watching
a
that game together. Remember that?
were
That was
we?
at the Eagles bar. Yeah, when he tripped. We were watching that Eagles Giants
That's
game.
right. That was
Yeah.
right. Yep, because that was what got the Eagles into the playoffs was
Mm-hmm.
winning that game, and then yeah, no, that was fun. I do remember
Yeah.
that now.
But go on with what you're saying.
I don't remember.
Uh
I'm
that
sorry, my head is kind of mush from the past few days. It's all good. My head has been
it is
just
okay.
literally my head has been literally focused on staring at my kid, making sure that, if she's gonna pee, that I can put her on this little potty thing. I'm just following her around the house with this potty thing as she's running around naked. It's great.
But uh speaking of shitting the bed, Casino. No,
She's not
that's
allowed
gonna be
on
in
her
position.
bed. She's not allowed on her bed unless she's
Yeah.
taking a nap or going sleep for the night.
But I think we did kind of get to the bottom of this, which is what our big discussion was going to be about, which is running backs are undervalued, but that is because they seem so replaceable. And especially like what outside of McCaffrey, Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley, what other running back in the league do you feel like you couldn't just plug and play a different guy in there? Maybe like Jonathan Taylor, maybe Josh
Pollard?
Jacobs.
You said maybe Pollard?
Yeah, well, he's also the ones that are looking for a new contract right now. Obviously Saquon, obviously Josh Jacobs, and then there's also Tony Pollard with the Cowboys. And if he sits out, they're down Pollard, they're down Zeke, and then they will just have to play an assortment of guys with their offensive line. They might be able to, but then it becomes that thing where it's like other teams are going to think that you can just do the Chiefs method, forgetting that to do the Chiefs method, you need Patrick Mahomes. Like, it's like
It's
one
fair.
of
Yeah.
those things where every team is just like, we can just pass the ball 50 times a game and win. And then it's like, yeah, you can, but we just talked about it. There's maybe 8 quarterbacks in the league who are like on a level above everybody else. And
Where they
then
can
there is,
where they could throw it to almost any kind of receiver.
yeah,
And everybody else actually needs to have some decent receivers. That was one big reason why I wanted Hopkins. I was like, Mac Jones, he's fine, but he needs a receiver that we can handle. Somebody
yeah.
better than Parker, who's their strength.
Who's the worst wide receiver by every stat they measure wide receivers by.
Yeah,
Did you see that?
Yeah, and he's the Patriots' number 1 receiver. It's great.
It's always good when somebody re-signs a running back and the news reports coming out are like, you will not believe how bad Devontae Parker is at being a wide receiver. Next to like your team signing that one, it's great time. But
Yeah, pretty much.
so let's last NFL news, then we'll talk a little bit about Wimbledon and then get out of here. The Washington Football Commanders, formerly football team or football club, formerly the Washington Redskins, have finally, after a unanimous decision by all NFL owners, yeah. So the NFL owners unanimously approved a $6.5 or $6.05 billion sale to the group. Yeah, to the group led by Josh Harris. He also owns the Sixers and a bunch of other fucking sports leagues. From
that he
Dan
doesn't really
Snyder.
care about.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's money in your pocket. From Daniel Snyder, he was with. How long do you think Daniel Snyder owned the Washington Commanders? Just take a ballpark.
Dude, I don't. 4 is my favorite number. I know it's not an answer.
Oh, I mean, 4 is in it. 24 seasons.
Yeah,
I knew
it was a long time, but damn.
Dude, 24 seasons. This is going to make you feel old as shit because it made me feel old as shit. 24 seasons means he bought the team in 1999. Doesn't it? When you say 24, aren't you like, oh, that means like the 80s? No, that's almost the 2000s.
Dude, that does make me feel old, man. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's
So
crazy when I still, so sidebar, I still associate like the 80s and the 70s to be like, oh, that was only like 20 years ago.
yeah, dude, the 70s were at this moment,
50
what,
years.
50 years ago. Jesus. Jesus. I know when people are like 30 years ago, I always, like you said, in my head, I'm like, they're talking about the late 70s, early 80s. And then it's like, no, 30 years ago, they're talking about the mid 90s. Like, that's fucking crazy. Uh,
I was
but
potty training myself at the time.
yeah. Uh, but so Snyder in those 24 seasons, he had 27 different starting quarterbacks, six playoff appearances, and he went 2-4 in those playoffs with never even sniffing NFC
That's
championship game.
that's bad.
That is bad, bad. He also had I believe 10
That's almost
different head coaches.
oh god, that's see the head coach carousel thing bothers me. We've talked about that before.
Yeah,
Stick with the guy. That's why I respect the Steelers organization for sticking with Tomlin. He,
yeah.
but
Well, I
at
think
least he's always produced though. I mean,
yeah.
maybe not all Super Bowls, but like he's in that realm of like I'm going to an AFC Championship game. I'm gonna you know, fight for the win.
Well, I think a big issue in sports, especially with head coaches, is we see all these players and coaches sign, especially in college. This annoys the fuck out of me, where people are like, "Oh, I've signed a 5-year contract to be the coach of Ole Miss or whatever," and then like a better opportunity opens up 2 years later. So then you can just get out of that contract and then go sign another one, even though all these kids
Contracts
only
mean
went to
nothing.
Ole Miss. Yeah, it's so fucking. I feel like they should be more binding, right? Because especially if we sign contracts at our job, there's like non-compete clauses and stuff, like not at our job specifically, but I'm saying people outside the sports world, you sign non-compete clauses, you sign, contracts basically being like, we own you until you are done with this contract. And full well signing it, like, if something happens, I can't go work at a competitor. But in sports, it's like, oh, you can sign a decade contract and 2 years from now be pissed and go to a different one and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just weird. But thoughts. Oh, and the last bit of news on this Commanders selling is Magic Johnson is one of the uh, minor stakeholders in this purchase. And apparently, he did an interview where he said a name change for the team is on the table. So, thoughts on just this whole sell as a whole, Casino?
I mean, glad that it got sold and needed to get sold. But again, it's not. I struggle. It's just another business person being selling it to a business person. I'm tired of that. I want it to be somebody who actually cares about the damn sport, cares about the damn team. Um, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really care. It's just another billionaire. It's just another billionaire owning another sports team. Billionaires, but still, I'm
I am lock and step with you in that. It's also one of those things where it's like all these NFL owners, and I can't remember who said this, but they made a great point where every fan thinks that these guys buy like sports franchises because they're like big sports fans, right? And they grew up as like fans of the team and all this kind of stuff. And like that is almost never ever
right.
the case.
We talked about it like a few episodes back on the few owners who
Good on,
actually
yeah,
like the
good.
team.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
we also been lucky that in our lifetimes, our sports teams, like obviously we're talking NFL specifically, our teams, the Eagles and the Patriots, are owned by two of the best owners in
owners.
the league where they actually feel like they give a shit and like care about winning.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like I
like
said,
he's like
whatever
that.
podcast ago, it was like, the Kraft family, they were season ticket holders. They grew up watching it. He was a child when he was watching the damn team, and then now he owns it because he wants to own the team.
Yeah, and I like that. I think that's what every team wants, but again, that is the minority, not even close to
Oh,
the
right.
majority. And but when it comes to the Commanders specifically, has there been a worse run franchise in the past 25 years? I mean, obviously we can throw, other
In
sports like the Knicks, or we talk about the
right. No, but
A's and
I
stuff like
mean, if you're
that.
talking just football, I don't think so.
I don't think so
Because
either.
I can think of, I mean, all those other teams in the NFL, they've had their ups and downs, but I still think Washington, just all in all, I can't.
It's just been a steady decline,
It's
right?
been
Because
it's just been steadily bad for a long time.
because the mid 80s, early 90s, like the Redskins, when they were the Redskins, were one of those dynasty teams
Yeah,
where they
which
were
was
right there with the
40 and 30
yeah,
years ago.
yeah. But they were right there with like the Cowboys and the 49ers and, the Raiders around that time where they were one of the top 5 franchises in the league. And since he took it over, I mean, they've only had 6 playoff appearances in 24 years and only 2 wins. Like that's to go from 3, 4, I think they only have three Super Bowl wins to now it's even a miracle if you make the playoffs. And then when you get to the playoffs, you're just scraping by till you lose. Like it's not just that steady decline. I think if you're a Washington Commanders fan, like first off, I think when it comes to name change, they should 100% change that name.
Oh, I
That
agree.
is
That's a
the
bad
fucking
name.
worst name. And it's clunky to say like Washington Commanders. It's too long of too many words, right? I don't know why they didn't stick with like the pig kind of thing. Be like the Washington, I don't know, think of a cool name for like a badass pig or something. I don't fucking know.
The Washington
But
Swine,
yeah, Washington Boars or so, I don't fucking know. But I
Washington Pork Belly,
when they were the Washington
Bacon,
football team, I kind of
Ham.
liked it. I kind of liked it. Just WTF that or WFT. They should have been WTF. Washington Team Football. I don't know. But Washington Football Club would be cool. I don't know. I don't know. Just do something different. Commanders is dumb. Nobody likes that name. I've never met anybody who's like, I love the name Commanders.
Washington Curly Tails.
Not bad. Still better than Commanders. Still better than Commanders. But all right, Casino. That was our NFL news dump of the past week. Let's talk about Wimbledon and then we will get out of here.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce these names. I'm tired.
No.
Just
So
talk about
I'll take
Wimbledon.
I'll take it over because I can't say their names either, but I'll write it down. So we did have 2 first-time winners at Wimbledon, both for. I'm just going to talk about the women's and men's singles. It's too much to talk about the doubles, the co-ed doubles, this and that. There's like a billion teams. But starting with the ladies, yeah, don't know how to say her. Markita Vondrosova, something like that. I don't think that's
I
pretty
mean,
close.
better
I
as
mean,
good as I could have done.
she's Czech, and but she absolutely dominated. Won her first Wimbledon. This is her first major ever, which is awesome. Well done for her. At one point, she was ranked. I think maybe I don't know if she's ranked that now, but 10th in the world. So like she's not an absolute nobody. She's a decent tennis player. But with Serena Williams being out of the picture, a lot of these players are now a lot of these female tennis players see the door opening for them. And not saying they didn't try hard when Serena was in. Obviously, everybody wanted to beat her, but you have a little more extra momentum in my eyes, a little more like, okay, now I don't have to go past this serious brick wall of a player. And, maybe I'll put a little more extra in my training because, it's not going to be just a luck thing or, a once in a million thing beating Serena. Now I actually have a legitimate shot to start winning some majors.
Yeah.
So good for her. And she won it in both sets, in 2 of 3 sets. And yeah, well done for her. And then over in the men's side, I can't say his name either. The Spaniard,
Alcaraz?
Carlos. Yeah,
Alcaraz?
yeah, I think
I
so.
gotcha.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
Carlos Alcaraz won the Grand Slam over Novak Djokovic, which I absolutely loved, and that was a grinder,
Dude,
absolute
over 5 hours.
dude, absolute grinder of a set or of a match. It went the distance, and I loved it because I can't stand Djokovic at all. He's my least favorite tennis player, maybe of all time. I don't like how he handles himself as the best in the world. He will go down as the best men's tennis player in the world, hands down. He's already passed Federer for the most Grand Slams, but he's doing it with ease. He's just doing it with absolute ease. But did you see when like he lost one of his rallies? He
Yeah,
just
he
goes
just
up to the
beat the
net,
shit out of the
just
yeah.
yeah, the,
I
the the
actually
side, and just like busts his racket. I don't like that. I get show passion, show anger, but like mid match, you just go up to the thing and you just start smashing. All you're doing is motivating the other player. Like,
You're
I've
like,
pissed
I'm
that
in
bit.
his fucking head.
I've pissed
Yeah.
him off. I'm crushing this.
Yeah.
I think when that happened, it was over. I think when he did that, it was just all right. It's done.
And then the
Absolutely done.
cameras doing that great thing where they're just zooming in and showing the pole is just all fucked up now. Like, yeah, I don't know how you watch that and, like you said, like not be like, oh, he's losing. You can tell he
Yeah,
knows the other guy's like better than him on this day.
yeah. And this
So
this is Carlos Alcatraz. I'm gonna say
Alcatraz.
Alcaraz. This was his second major. He did win the U.S. Open back in 2022. Um, so yeah, he's moving on up, and it's nice to see some new faces win. But as long as it's not Djokovic, I don't care. Don't care.
Do you think this guy, especially where, like you said, on the women's side, is also kind of happening on the men's side, where it's kind of Djokovic and then nobody else at the moment
Well,
except this new guy? Do you think this new guy
I
is the
I
new face of men's tennis?
I think it's Djokovic and then Rafa Nadal, but Nadal is constantly fighting injuries, and so when
Yeah.
he's on, and then when he's off, he's off. Like he's, I love Rafa Nadal. I think he's a great tennis player. I really like how he plays on the court. Yes, he gets frustrated too sometimes, and I don't like all of his antics, but it's hard to like everything about a certain athlete. But yeah, outside of those two, because I would say with Djokovic getting older, and he's still obviously very relevant. He's still winning Grand Slams and making Grand Slams. I mean, he just won, what was it, the Australian or the French? I don't remember which was the last one. Just won that one. And yeah, I mean, he's still an absolute beast, but eventually he'll start declining. And I think a lot of younger generation is coming up to start challenging some of the older Grand Slam tennis players that are just constantly winning. So might be a new era.
Yeah. We will see. We will see. That was definitely a good match, though. I
Oh, it
watched
was so much fun.
I watched the end of it, and then I watched the highlights of the parts I missed. It was especially when there's no other sports on, to have that quality of something on that's not fucking boxcar racing or whatever the fuck the rubber band fake car thing is. It's nice. But all right, Casino. We will call it there. We have run out of the few topics we had to talk about. We will be back next week with our last, as I call them, struggle pods, where we're just trying to find something to talk about that isn't like this
I'll give
time
you
of
guys
year.
I'll
Go
give you
ahead.
guys an update on my child's potty training, and BJ, you will do the same.
Exactly.
It's
But
now this is a competition between 2-year-olds on whose kid potty trains first.
yeah, it's that'll start with our that'll start our NFL record chase against each other. That'll start the season. We'll either be up 1-0 or down 0-1. But I was going to say, the thing I hate about sports talk radio this time of the year is where it's just like hot take garbage city to like fill time, where everybody's
Yeah.
just like, oh, like the dumbest thing you can think of, and then people have a debate about it for 10 minutes as if it's an actual discussion. Like,
Do you think Kyler Murray is actually going to go and start
yeah,
playing baseball now?
yeah,
And if
it's like
so, for
that
which
dumb
club
shit.
would he fit in?
Ugh, ugh. And
That's a
it's
good
just
garbage.
like,
That's a good garbage topic. Which club that he would go and fit in?
well, it's also
Hmm.
just like, do we even need sports talk on TV right now? Just take 2 months off. Like,
Yeah,
and then
I
make
mean,
people miss you and then fucking come
yeah,
back.
and give people like us, some
Yeah,
time.
that's what I'm saying. Or, well, instead they just fire everybody. Talking about ESPN, and then are like,
Well, I
we're
thought you were
just
about to
having,
fire me a couple times, so
I mean, we'll talk after this podcast. But this, this has been the Only Sports Podcast. We will see you next week, the week before our NFL preview starts. I also did not realize preseason starts in like 3 weeks,
mhm.
which is fucking crazy. But yeah, I'm Will. That's Casino.
No, Mr. Sparkles.
That's Mr. Sparkles. That's Oppen. All right. We'll see you next week. Yeah, this has been the Only Sports Podcast. Adios.